Welcome back to the Don Lemon Show. Democratic State Representative James Talarico, the 52nd District in the Texas House of Representatives, which has really been the spotlight in America right now. The eyes of Americans are on you guys in Texas. First of all, how are you holding up? And then we'll get into the specifics.
Yeah, thank you for asking. This is certainly not easy for us to be away from our families, our livelihoods, our beloved state of Texas. But it is necessary because we're fighting for the people's right to elect representatives of their choice, to hold the most powerful politician in our country accountable in the next election. So I think we all recognize that this is bigger than us, bigger than any one politician or any one political party. But it certainly is not easy. And Don, I think you may know that we faced some threats from Texas Republicans, and yesterday we woke up to an evacuation because there was a bomb threat called into our hotel. So it's left some of our members shaken a little bit, understandably so. But being together certainly helps us, and I think we're in good spirits today.
Look, I don't doubt what you're saying, but do you know how important this is that you guys set an example and the precedent for the rest of the country? Because look, I think where are they going? To Indiana today. J.D. Vance is going. They're going around the country to try to get other red states to do and red districts to do similar things as to what happens in Texas. And I mean, right now, you guys really are the bulwark between an out of control democracy, which is veering out of control, but just completely out of control democracy. And I believe the stealing of elections. That's my terminology, but I think you know where I'm going with this, because this is going to take an effort for you guys. And there are people out here who believe that you should stay out as long as possible so that they don't have an opportunity at all to do this, no matter the sacrifice. I don't know if that's fair, but that's how people feel.
When Donald Trump called Georgia Republicans and asked them to find him 11,000 more votes after he lost the 2020 election, they said, no, sir. But when Trump called Texas Republicans and asked them to find him 5 more congressional seats, they said, how about Thursday? And so that's why the responsibility to defend this American experiment fell to Texas Democrats. And we answered the call. We're obviously risking arrest. We're risking our positions. As you know, Governor Abbott has already made a motion to the Texas Supreme Court to vacate our seats, to kick us out of office. We're risking financial ruin, as the fines are $500 a day. As you know, Don, we only make $600 a month as state legislators, and we have day jobs to try to pay our bills and make ends meet. But we are not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. We're probably some of the poorest politicians in the country. But we are willing to take on those political, legal, financial risks, and of course the personal risks of being away from our families to do this because it is so important for not just Texas but the whole country. And I hope that our act of civil disobedience, of good trouble, can be an inspiration and a reminder to all Americans that we all have a responsibility in this moment to step up and speak out.
I understand that, but I do believe there's a lot of goodwill out there for you guys, and not just among Democrats. I believe that people who believe in democracy, many of them Republicans, independents, whatever it is, libertarian, whatever you're in, whatever you are, I do believe that they care about our democracy enough to support you guys to the very end, and they'll do it financially. I think that, they'll be happy if someone, fundraised and to help you. I do believe that because, again, I hate to keep saying this, but we're in a perilous place. I just want to put up, this is from the New York Times, what Senator John Cornyn is doing. John Cornyn says the FBI will help find Texas lawmakers who left the state. Now, he asked Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, I want to go to a statement, go down to his statement, because the language in this statement is infuriating a lot of people, and it's also very scary. So what he has said in his statement here is that he said he was happy. He wanted the FBI to help him in, what did he say? In securing runaway lawmakers, to use that language, runaway lawmakers, or runaway, that word runaway, which we usually have used in terms of runaway slaves. That's is with a lot of African American people. When you read that, you're like, wait, what? Or is he saying these people are fugitives or runaway slaves? Is he going to round them up as such? That's very dangerous that the FBI, first of all, is doing this. And number two, the language that he used here to say that he's going to, go after locating runaway Texas House Democrats who are fleeing Texas.
Yeah, and before that, Ken Paxton put out a tweet to his many followers asking them to quote hunt us down. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that 24 hours later there was a bomb threat at our hotel. We have taken some security measures here. Thankfully, Governor Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, has activated state resources to protect the Texas legislators that are here. And we're very grateful for that hospitality and that friendship at this critical moment for our country. But this kind of rhetoric, these kind of threats are unacceptable in a democracy. And I hope you and your viewers notice that we are not making those threats in reverse. We are sticking to the issue at hand. We're talking about these maps. We're talking about free and fair elections. We're talking about how we can all, Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike, change our government from the bottom up through a fair vote. So we're trying to stick to the issues. They're the ones that are making this so personal and so dangerous. And again, it exposes their true motives. The reason they're trying to pass these rigged maps is because they want to rob Texans of their ability to elect the representatives of their choice. And now they are talking about literally removing democratically duly elected representatives from their offices. And this is a playbook we've seen. I know you, Don, have seen in other countries, and we know where that ends.
Yeah.
And they don't just come for Democrats; they come for everybody. They don't just come for elected officials; they also come from journalists and media figures as well. So this should be a 5-alarm fire to everyone in this country, not just Democrats.
Put the Ken Delanian tweet back up because I want to read how Ken Delanian responded to it. Going after this, and I also spoke to a former prosecutor and a former state attorney. They said the key question here is, what grounds would the FBI be doing this? What is the crime they are investigating? The FBI can't just use its vast surveillance powers to locate random citizens. In fact, that's what conservatives have long been so concerned about FISA, so regarding the FISA authorities. How do you respond to that? I think he's right. I know he's right. Every legal person I've spoken to said there are no grounds to round up Democrats and bring them back by the FBI.
And again, we are taking an action by breaking quorum that is protected by our state constitution in Texas. This is a right the minority has to check the abuses of the majority, and passing a rigged map in the middle of the decade at the direct request of the most powerful man in the country, so he doesn't have to face consequences in the midterms, that is an abuse of power. It is corruption at the highest level. And so our constitutional duty, and I didn't swear an oath to Donald Trump when I got elected. I swore an oath to the Constitution. And that Constitution allows me and my colleagues to break quorum. And Don, quorum breaks, as we already talked about, are not easy. They're difficult. They are expensive. They're a logistical nightmare. And that's good because it is an extreme step, and it should only be reserved for the most egregious abuses of power. My colleagues and I didn't break quorum when Republicans passed a voucher bill that's defunding Texas schools. We didn't break quorum when they passed the most extreme abortion ban in the country, endangering the lives of women and girls across Texas. We didn't even break quorum when they gerrymandered the last time in 2021, which is when you're supposed to redistrict. We are breaking quorum now because this is unique. This is trying to rig the game so that there is no competition in elections in Texas and across the country. And so that's, again, why this meets the threshold of that constitutional tool that we have in breaking quorum.
Do you think that the Democrats are doing a good enough job of putting it out there, something that is true, that Democrats voted to stop all of this illegal, unnecessary gerrymandering, and Republicans unanimously voted against it?
No, I think we need to talk about that a lot more because, too often Democrats like me talk about defending or protecting democracy. And I understand why, because we're facing a wannabe tyrant in the White House. But democracy as it stands in America doesn't work for a lot of people, especially working people in places like Texas. So we need to fix democracy. And the rot at the core of this broken political system is gerrymandering, especially gerrymandering in the middle of the decade, which is like, it's like changing rules in the middle of a football game, right? Like two teams coming out of the locker room at halftime, and the team that's ahead says, hey, we want to change the rules in the second half so that we can win this game. All of us would be throwing food at the television if that happened, right? Because it's blatant cheating. But we've got to get politics out of this process entirely. Politicians shouldn't be choosing their voters. Voters should be choosing their politicians. And yes, historically, Democrats, like Republicans, have also gerrymandered. But as you mentioned, national Democrats in Congress did vote to ban gerrymandering across the country, and Republican members of Congress, almost all of them, I think all of them, voted against that ban. So this is not a moral equivalence. Although a gerrymandering is present in both parties, it is certainly not the same degree in both parties.
So, our viewers are very, very honest and adamant, and we have a big following, but they're very loyal, and they're very opinionated, and they believe the energy that they want right now of someone who's been very vocal on this issue, the kind of energy they say they want right now is from State Representative Yolanda Jones. And she talked about, we had her on the show. She was extremely emotional. She said, I have a grandbaby. I miss her, but, and she cried and said, I'll do what I have to do. But she said she was just very honest about what this moment is. She called it racist, among other things. Here's just a little bit of her, and I want you to respond.
A part of my practice is criminal defense work. There is no felony in the Texas Penal Code for what he says. So respectfully, he's making up some shit, okay? He's trying to get sound bites, and he has no legal mechanism. And if he did, subpoenas from Texas don't work in New York. So he gonna come get us how? Subpoenas in Texas don't work in Chicago. He's gonna come get us how? So let me be clear. He's putting up smoke and mirrors. And I'm hopeful that the media doesn't follow that.
Okay, so that was her speaking at a press conference with Governor Kathy Hochul, not on our show, but she had very similar sentiment on our show, and basically saying, again, there's no, she doesn't see anywhere legally that he can do that, and it's BS. But she said at the bottom line to this is that Republicans in Texas and around the country, for the most part, they're trying to disenfranchise everybody, but for the most part, they're targeting in Texas, and I believe in other places, heavily minority districts, especially Black folks, which are the backbone of the Democratic Party. She says this is a racist act and should be framed as such because it is what it is. How do you feel about that?
I completely agree. There's no other way to see this. And I should say, in a state like Texas, these communities are not minorities. They are the majority as a group. Texas is a majority minority state. And so these populations are growing, and they deserve to have a government that reflects their communities, and they deserve to elect the candidates of their choice. And whether whether a Latino community elects a Latino candidate, that's their choice. They could also elect a white candidate or a Black candidate. Same is true for African Americans. And so the point is, when communities are able to build up their power, they can then elect leaders who can represent them in the halls of power. That's how this system is supposed to work. And this racist map prevents those communities from being able to exercise their power as a group. And it intentionally dilutes their voices in the democratic process. Mm-hmm. So yes, Trump is trying to hang on to power. Yes, he's trying to protect his majority in Congress. That is the what, but the how is by dividing these communities of color and robbing them of their voice in the democratic process.
Support comes from Shopify. This show started just as an idea, and Shopify helped turn it into a reality. Starting your own business is something many of us dream about, but too often we get stuck in the what ifs. What if I don't have the skills? What if I can't do it alone? Well, Shopify helps you turn those what ifs into why nots. Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide, including ours right here at the Don Lemon Show, where we use it to bring you the merch that you love. Even if you can't design a website, Shopify has beautiful templates ready to go. Their AI tools can help with everything from product images to discount codes, and their 24/7 support means that you're never on your own. It's time to turn your ideas into sales. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. Support comes from Delete Me. These days, our personal data is everywhere and for sale. Your name, phone number, address, even info about your family can be bought online by anyone. That can lead to identity theft, phishing, and harassment. Now, as someone with a public profile, I know how important it is to keep private information just that, private. Delete Me makes it quick and safe to remove your personal data from the web, and they keep it off. I've had friends deal with doxing and identity theft, and it is not something that you want to face unprepared. You don't want to face it at all, but especially not unprepared. So protect yourself. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting Don to 64000. That's Don to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. Okay, so I want to. We mentioned this a little bit. I touched on it in the earlier part of our conversation. But Indiana Governor Mike Braun says that he's going to pursue redistricting. The way we mentioned it is that J.D. Vance is going there to try to, pursue that and to help them. But this is the Indiana governor in an interview. We'll play a little bit of it, and then I'll hear from you.
You're going to meet with Vice President J.D. Vance a little bit later today. I know a lot of things are on the agenda, but one of them is something that's caught the attention of the nation over this past week. President Trump wants to see some redistricting in Republican-led states. You are one of them. This is what he said to Politico yesterday. I'm sorry, a Republican operative said to Politico. I think the legislature is led and infiltrated by spineless Republicans, many former Democrats desperate to hold office. If anyone can give them a spine to act, though, it's President Trump. How do you see the possibility of redistricting in Indiana playing out over the next 6 months?
So you can see Texas is leading the charge here and what the reaction has been down there. Missouri, Ohio, Indiana, the heartland of the country, all looking at the same thing. And I think it's very rich for Democrats. Remember when I looked at our map, when I was a state rep, that the Democrats had done, it looked like tentacles of an octopus. They have done that. And the fact that they're hypocritically now complaining about it when they have been the masters of it, I think that needs to be noted. Here in Indiana, we've become more Republican over time. And these maps probably need to be looked at anyway. It is unusual to do it outside of a census, but here I think you're going to find Missouri, Ohio, Texas, and maybe other states doing it. And the Democrats, if they're complaining about it, it's the height of hypocrisy. Massachusetts.
So are you on board then?
I'm going to be listening to JD today and our two leaders of the legislature as well. And we're going to have that discussion. I cite Massachusetts, which is about the same size state as Indiana, no Republican congressional districts, and about 35%, give or take, are Republicans within a state like that. So how do you explain that? Here, I think we're going to look at it logically, do what makes sense.
All right. You heard what he says, Missouri, Indiana, and so on. They're going everywhere, and they're saying that Democrats, it's hypocritical for Democrats to be acting this way. Look, there's so much in there, and I could fact check it, whatever, but I have you here. And so what do you say to that?
Well, he was asking, how do you explain Massachusetts? That map was signed by a Republican governor in Massachusetts. And so, I've already acknowledged that gerrymandering is a problem in both political parties. But as you pointed out, Don, only one political party, the Democrats, have tried to ban gerrymandering in every state, red and blue. And every Republican voted against that when it was put forward in the U.S. Congress. And so, again, I hopefully can continue my fight in the legislature in Texas to ban gerrymandering. I've already introduced a bill to create a citizen-led independent redistricting commission in our state. That bill hasn't even gotten a hearing. The Republicans in the state legislature haven't even granted me a hearing for that bill. So I really I hope they can spare us the moral outrage about gerrymandering when we're the only party trying to do something about it. But the most important point, though, is that this is not really about gerrymandering. That happens across the country at the beginning of every decade when we're supposed to redistrict, right after we get a new census. But what's happening here is unique. It is at the middle of the decade, which he acknowledged is unusual. That was the word that he used. I would say it's egregious. I would say it's unlawful. I would say it is a power grab.
Would you say that they're trying to steal an election or steal elections?
Yes, I've said they're trying to rig this next election. Donald Trump knows that his policies are unpopular. right? He's wrecking the economy. He's starting wars. He's protecting pedophiles. He's kicking millions of people, including millions of Texans, off their health care to fund tax breaks for his billionaire friends. It's deeply unpopular. And in a democracy, the people have a chance to respond to those policies in the next election, unless one side cheats. And that's exactly what's happening here. So I really don't want this to get tied to normal gerrymandering. I want this to be seen as what it is, which is a unique power grab in the middle of the decade at the request of the most powerful man in the country.
And they are using normal gerrymandering, which, you know, it could be fixed. They're using that as the right to as a head fake to do something that is, yeah, go ahead.
And Don, the Republicans already gerrymandered Texas in 2021. Again, we didn't break quorum, right? We understood that that's what, unfortunately, this broken political system allows. Maybe one day it won't if we all keep working toward that vision. But that is the current sad state of affairs in this broken democracy. But we didn't break quorum when they did that in 2021. We're doing it now because this is the middle of the decade. We agreed to rules for the decade, for this whole football game, and they're trying to change the rules after halftime. And they're doing it at the direct request of the president, just like when he asked Georgia Republicans for 11,000 more votes. We cannot become numb to this. It is dangerous for all of us when we give this much power to one man and there is no check on that power.
Okay, I would not be doing, my role as a journalist. You mentioned protecting pedophiles. Every day, to me, it seems like this Epstein, this administration becomes engulfed in bigger flames every single day regarding the Epstein files, not releasing of the Epstein files. There was reportedly supposed to be a meeting at the vice president's house last night to discuss the strategy. They're saying it's not going to happen. Others are saying that it was called off. I don't know who's advising them, but none of this is helping. What is your take on this? And does Donald Trump and the administration know this is what breaks the MAGA spell and could be, I'm not saying that it'll end Donald Trump, but I'm leaning that anyway, I want to know what you think, not what I think.
Well, I just want to know why they have to have a meeting at the vice president's mansion about strategy. The strategy is simple: release the files.
Yeah,
that's it. That's a simple meeting. It's pretty quick. Release the files. The American people have a right to see those documents, and they were promised those documents by J.D. Vance himself when he was trying to get our votes in the last election. And really, the only thing I can surmise is that Donald Trump is in those files all over the place. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Why else wouldn't they release it? And if he's not in the files, then show us that. But the president's already said he wants to give Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon. I mean, he was open to that.
That's where I was going. What did you think?
She's a human trafficker of the worst kind, trafficking children. And the fact that he would even entertain giving a person like that a pardon is disgusting. And she'd be outrageous to everyone, regardless of your political party. So I think this scandal is going to make Watergate look like a nothing burger. I do think that this is going to bring down his presidency, as it should, because protecting pedophiles should be a red line for every American.
Wow. Thank you for being so candid about that. Look, as I said, the eyes of the country on you. People are counting on you guys. I mean, look, you're the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. And I think other places, other states, other jurisdictions around the country that may have to deal with this, they're looking to you guys to see how you handle it. If you handle it properly, I actually think that this could be good for Democrats, right? And you know what people have been saying. Why are the Democrats? Why are they always on defense? And sometimes I'm like, I get tired of criticizing the Democrats because we're really in this position because of MAGA, right? Not normal politicians of Democrats and Republicans, but it's because of MAGA. But I think people want that fighting energy from you guys. And if you do that, you do it right, I think this could end up actually being a gift to Democrats in an odd way.
I mean, that's our hope. Texas Democrats have always been a little different from national Democrats. We know how to fight, whether it was LBJ pushing the Great Society through Congress, whether it was Barbara Jordan impeaching Richard Nixon, Wendy Davis holding the floor of the Texas Senate for 13 hours, or Beto O'Rourke interrupting Greg Abbott's press conference in Uvalde. Texas Democrats know how to fight for the people. We know how to fight for our values. Because national Democrats tend to, a lot of them are on the coasts and they're in blue cities or blue states, and so they're comfortable. Texans, we have to live with Republican extremism, with MAGA extremism every day, right? I have schools closing in my district because they're defunding neighborhood public schools. We have the highest number of uninsured people in the entire nation because Republican extremists have refused to expand Medicaid. We have the most extreme abortion ban in the country that's killing women and girls as we speak. And so we know the consequences of this MAGA extremism, and it's why we fight so ferociously for our people and for our state. And I hope that blue state Democrats and national Democrats can learn something from what we do, because what I hear a lot from DC Democrats is that when they're in the minority, they use that as an excuse for inaction. We don't have that luxury in Texas. We've been in the minority for quite a while, and so we've had to learn how to use every tool in our toolbox to fight for the people. And that's what we're doing here with this quorum break. It's just one of our tools, but we are willing to play to the fullest extent of the rules to protect our people back home.
Representative James Talarico, thank you. I know that you're very busy. We appreciate your time. And the one thing that I do agree with Joe Rogan on, that's you.
Oh, well, thank you, Don. Don, I just want to thank you. You have always had our backs here in Texas. You've always covered these stories when a lot of media outlets don't. We consider you an honorary Texan, and we're very thankful for your coverage.
Thank you. I feel like a Texan anyways. I appreciate that, but I grew up in Louisiana, and the next place that we spent state was Texas. We're in Astro World that was our summer vacation. So
Louisiana's like our cousin. We were very close, so we appreciate it.
I received that. Thank you, Representative. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.